10. Born into boxing. He was practically raised. Inside the ring, Floyd Mayweather Jr. didn't stumble into boxing, he was born into it. Literally. His father, Floyd Mayweather Sr., was a professional welterweight who once fought Sugar Ray Leonard. His uncles, Roger and Jeff Mayweather, were also professional boxers. Roger even held world titles. Imagine growing up in a household where family dinners revolved around jabs, hooks, and defensive strategy, not homework and baseball practice. Floyd's life was never going to be ordinary. By the time most kids were learning multiplication tables, Floyd was already throwing punches in the gym. His father, despite later legal troubles, introduced him to the sport before Floyd could even spell champion. Floyd Jr. often recalled stories of being just a toddler, sitting ringside while his father trained fighters. It was as if the sweet science seeped into his bloodstream from birth. But here's the part that really shaped him. Floyd grew up in poverty in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His mother struggled with substance abuse, and the family often lived in tiny apartments without steady income. Floyd himself once admitted, "When people see what I have now, they have no idea what I went through." At night, he would sometimes come home to an empty fridge, and yet every morning there was the gym, there was the bag, and there was that voice in his head saying, "Boxing is the way out." In many ways, Floyd represents the American dream with gloves on. Think about it. How many kids grow up in broken homes, surrounded by drugs, violence, and poverty? For most, the odds are crushing. But Floyd turned that environment into fuel. He didn't just want to be good, he wanted to be untouchable, to make sure no one could ever take away his dignity again. By the time he hit the amateur circuit, the nickname Pretty Boy Floyd was born. Why? Because unlike most young fighters who carried bruises and scars, Floyd's defensive skills were so sharp that his face rarely showed damage. Trainers couldn't believe how elusive he was. Imagine a kid who could make seasoned boxers miss punch after punch. It was like trying to hit smoke. The culmination of his amateur years came in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, where Floyd won a bronze medal. And here U.S., where his story took a twist. Floyd believed he was robbed in the semifinals against Zarafim Todorov of Bulgaria. The decision remains one of the most controversial in Olympic boxing history. To this day, many analysts insist Floyd should have won gold. That sense of injustice became a permanent chip on his shoulder. He carried it into the pros like a weapon. Think about this. If that fight had gone his way, Floyd may have entered the professional world with a gold medal and the confidence of being an Olympic champion. Instead, he walked in bitter, hungry, with something to prove. And maybe, just maybe, that chip on his shoulder was the secret ingredient that forged the undefeated legend. Chapter 9. The Undefeated Legacy. 50 wins, 0 losses. Every boxer dreams of retiring undefeated. Almost none do. Boxing is brutal. Even the greats eventually meet their match. Muhammad Ali lost. Sugar Ray Robinson lost. Mike Tyson lost. Yet, Floyd Mayweather Jr. stands in a category of his own. 50 professional fights, 50 victories, 0 defeats. To put that in perspective, imagine a baseball team winning every single game for over 3 straight seasons, or a quarterback going his entire career without throwing a single interception. That's how absurdly rare Floyd's record is. But here's the twist. Floyd wasn't just winning. He was often making elite fighters look amateur. His defensive style, often mocked as boring by fans craving knockouts, was in fact genius. He wasn't there to brawl, he was there to not get hit. His reflexes, footwork, and shoulder roll defense frustrated legends like Oscar de la Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, and Canelo Alvarez. They would throw combinations only to punch air. Ringside commentators often joked that Floyd's greatest weapon wasn't his fists, but his invisibility cloak. Take the 2007 fight against Oscar de la Hoya. It was billed as the fight of the century, and millions tuned in, thinking the Golden Boy might finally dethrone Mayweather. Instead, Floyd executed a masterclass in counterpunching. winning by split decision but proving he could handle the biggest stage. Or the 2015 showdown against Manny Pacquiao, the most anticipated fight of the decade. Fans had waited years for it, and while many complained it didn't live up to the hype, Floyd controlled nearly every round, leaving Pacquiao swinging at shadows. Even in his later years, when most fighters decline, Floyd stayed flawless. His final professional fight in 2017 against UFC superstar Conor McGregor may have been more spectacle than sport, but it still ended the same way. Mayweather's hand raised, record intact at 50-0. But why did Floyd remain undefeated? It wasn't just talent, it was strategy. He carefully managed his career, choosing fights at the right time, avoiding unnecessary risks. Critics argue he ducked certain fighters in their prime. Supporters argue he was simply smart. After all, isn't boxing about winning while minimizing damage? Floyd himself often said, "You don't get paid for taking punches. You get paid for hitting and not getting hit." That philosophy didn't just protect his record, it preserved his body. Look at many retired fighters: slurred speech, health issues, broken bodies. Floyd, he speaks clearly, lives lavishly, and still trains like he's 25. Love him or hate him. That is the kind of foresight that makes his record more than just numbers. It makes it a testament to survival. And here's where it gets really American. Think of Floyd's career like Wall Street investing. Some traders chase high-risk, high-reward stocks and often crash. Floyd? He was the cautious investor, always playing the long game, maximizing returns, minimizing risks. And just like a billionaire portfolio, his record grew steady, untouched, until retirement. America 8. Floyd Mayweather's defensive genius. The shoulder roll. That changed boxing. Boxing has always been a sport of styles. Some fighters are brawlers, charging forward, willing to take 3 punches just to land one. Others are power punchers, relying on knockout strength to intimidate their opponents. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. broke the mold. His secret weapon wasn't a thunderous right hand or a granite chin. It was his defense, a defensive system so effective it practically rewrote the rulebook. The crown jewel of Floyd's arsenal was the shoulder roll. To the casual fan, it looked strange, almost lazy. Floyd would stand side on, his lead left shoulder raised high, chin tucked in behind it. As opponents launched attacks, Floyd would lean back, roll with the punches, and let the blows slide harmlessly off his shoulder. And just when they thought he was vulnerable, he'd fire back a lightning-fast counter right to the chin. This wasn't just reflexes, it was science. The shoulder roll allowed Floyd to minimize damage while conserving energy. Instead of blocking with his gloves and absorbing impact, he deflected power away from his body. That's why, across 50 professional fights, he rarely showed bruises or swelling. Fighters who walked into the ring confident they'd break his defense ended up confused, frustrated, and humiliated. Take the fight against Canelo Alvarez in 2013. Canelo was young, hungry, and considered one of the best offensive boxers of his generation. Yet Floyd made him look ordinary. Round after round, Canelo's combinations met nothing but air and shoulders. Commentators couldn't believe what they were seeing. A 36-year-old man outclassing a 23-year-old star with ease. It was the shoulder roll in full effect, and Canelo simply had no answer. Even legendary trainer Freddie Roach once admitted that Floyd's defense was almost unsolvable. "He's like a puzzle," Roach said. "You think you've got him, and then he disappears." In American sports culture, Floyd's style is comparable to the lockdown defense of an NBA superstar like Scottie Pippen or Kawhi Leonard. While others chase highlight reel dunks, defensive players quietly shut down opponents and win championships. Floyd brought that same mentality to boxing. He didn't care if fans booed. He cared about winning, staying untouched, and cashing the check at the end of the night. But his genius went beyond technique. Floyd possessed an uncanny ability to read opponents. Within 2 or 3 rounds, he could download their patterns, their habits, their tells. It was like watching a chess master anticipate moves before they happened. Shane Mosley once stunned Floyd with a big right hand early in their fight. Most fighters would panic. Floyd? He smiled, adjusted, and dominated the rest of the bout. That adaptability is what separates great athletes from legends. Michael Jordan could change his game from dunking to fadeaways as he aged. Tom Brady extended his NFL career by relying on quick reads instead of mobility. Floyd did the same in boxing. When his youthful speed began to fade, his defensive IQ carried him through. And here's the kicker. The shoulder roll wasn't invented by Mayweather. Old-school fighters like Archie Moore and James Toney used it before him. But Floyd perfected it, modernized it, and brought it to the mainstream. He turned a niche style into a weapon of mass frustration. For young fighters, Floyd's defense became both inspiration and curse. Trainers across America tried to teach their students the shoulder roll, but without Floyd's reflexes and instincts, most failed miserably. It is like trying to copy Steph Curry as three-point shooting without his hours of unseen practice. The result? Average fighters getting knocked out while trying to imitate a master. Ultimately, Floyd's defensive genius cemented his place as more than just another champion. He became a symbol of calculated brilliance, a reminder that sometimes the best way to win a fight is simply not to get hit. Lescar 7. The Billion-Dollar Paydays. How Floyd became the highest-paid athlete in the world. If Floyd Mayweather's defense was his shield, then his business acumen was his sword. Because while most boxers fought for glory, Floyd fought for glory and the biggest paycheck in the room. And he didn't just succeed. He shattered records, redefining what it meant to be an athlete in America. Let's start with a number. $1 billion. That's how much Floyd reportedly earned over his career. Not LeBron James, not Tiger Woods, not Tom Brady, Floyd Mayweather Jr., a kid from Grand Rapids, Michigan, became the first boxer in history to cross into billionaire territory. How did he do it? The key was control. Early in his career, Floyd signed with top-rank promotions, where he was making millions but not Mayweather-level millions. This autonomy turned him into a financial juggernaut. The pay-per-view model became his playground. In 2007, his fight with Oscar De La Hoya generated 2.4 million PPV buys, a record at the time. Suddenly, Floyd wasn't just a boxer, he was a household name. Networks realized fans would pay top dollar, even if many tuned in hoping to see him lose. Floyd didn't care. Whether you loved him or hated him, your money still ended up in his pocket. Then came 2015, the fight with Manny Pacquiao. It was called the Fight of the Century, and for once the hype matched the numbers. The bout drew over 4.6 million PPV buys, generating more than $600 million in revenue. Floyd's cut, around $250 million for one night of work. Think about that, $250 million for 36 minutes in the ring. That's more than most NFL teams make in an entire season. But Floyd wasn't done. In 2017, he fought UFC superstar Conor McGregor in a crossover event that blurred the lines between boxing and mixed martial arts. Critics called it a circus. Floyd called it business. The fight generated over $550 million, with Floyd pocketing another $300 million. Combined with sponsorships and live gate sales, his career earnings skyrocketed past the billion mark. What made Floyd unique was his ability to turn himself into the product. He flaunted cash, cars, and jewelry, earning the nickname Money Mayweather. For some, it was arrogant. For others, it was aspirational. Either way, it sold. Americans tuned in not just for the fights, but for the lifestyle. They wanted to see if the man who threw 100 bills in nightclubs could really back it up in the ring. And here's the genius. Floyd understood that controversy sells. He didn't care if fans booed. He welcomed it. "They don't have to like me," he once said. "They just have to pay to watch me." That mindset made him one of the most polarizing figures in sports history, and one of the richest. It's also worth noting that Floyd's financial empire went beyond the ring. He invested in real estate, strip clubs, and even his own boxing promotions company. He leveraged his fame into long-term income streams. While many boxers retire broke, Floyd retired with mansions, private jets, and luxury cars filling warehouses. In American culture, Floyd became a symbol of excess and ambition. To his critics, he was greedy, selfish, and materialistic. To his fans, he was proof that someone from nothing could rise to the very top. Either way, you couldn't ignore him. Think about it this way. Athletes like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods became billionaires through endorsements. Floyd did it primarily through his own fists and his own business savvy. That's why his story isn't just about sports, it's about entrepreneurship, about taking control of your own brand and destiny. Number 6. Legal troubles and controversies. The dark side of Mayweather's legacy. Every legend has shadows, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. is no exception. For all the bright lights, diamond chains, and undefeated records, his life has also been marked by serious controversies. These weren't minor slip-ups either. His legal troubles have cast long shadows on his career, raising tough questions about the man behind the gloves. One of the biggest stains on Floyd's legacy has been accusations of domestic violence. Over the years, multiple women have accused him of assault. In 2011, he served 2 months in jail after pleading guilty to a domestic battery charge involving the mother of his children. The story dominated headlines across America, sparking debate. How could a man who is a role model for discipline in the ring show such volatility at home? American culture has a complicated relationship with athletes who get into trouble. On one hand, fans want their champions to be flawless heroes. On the other, sports history is full of stars like Mike Tyson, Kobe Bryant, and Tiger Woods, who faced scandals but still maintained huge followings. Floyd was no different. For some, his legal battles became proof that he was arrogant and reckless. For others, they were just another obstacle he fought through. But domestic issues weren't his only controversies. Floyd's name has popped up in lawsuits ranging from business disputes to unpaid taxes. At one point, the IRS even filed a claim saying Mayweather owed millions in back taxes, despite being one of the highest-paid athletes on the planet. To critics, this painted him as financially irresponsible. To supporters, it was another example of the system trying to tear down a successful black man from humble beginnings. Then there was the public persona Floyd cultivated. He bragged about carrying duffel bags full of cash, betting millions on sports games, and surrounding himself with luxury. To some Americans, especially in working-class communities, it felt tone-deaf, like flaunting wealth while millions struggled to pay bills. Yet, ironically, this very arrogance became part of his selling point. Love him or hate him, you couldn't look away. In the age of social media, Floyd leaned into controversy instead of running from it. He'd post videos of his private jets, closets full of sneakers, and $18 million watches. Every post sparked thousands of comments, half admiration, half disgust. But that was the genius of Money Mayweather. Controversy kept his name trending, and trending meant more pay-per-view buys. Still, the legal troubles leave a permanent mark. Unlike his flawless boxing record, his personal life reads messier, complicated, and controversial. For a man who built his empire on discipline, his inability to control his temper outside the ring remains one of the greatest contradictions in sports history. And it forces us to grapple with a difficult truth. Greatness in one arena doesn't always equal greatness in all aspects of life. Number 5. Training obsession. Floyd's work ethic and the hard work, dedication mantra. If Floyd's controversies revealed his flaws, his training revealed his obsession. Behind the flashy cars and diamond-encrusted watches lies a man who outworked nearly everyone. His mantra, hard work, dedication, wasn't just a slogan. It was the soundtrack of his life. Stories of Floyd's insane training routines have become legendary in American boxing culture. Unlike most fighters who follow standard gym schedules, Floyd was unpredictable. He'd call his team for a midnight run through the streets of Las Vegas, forcing his entourage to chase him in cars while he sprinted in 100-degree heat. Sometimes, after a night out at the club, he'd head straight to the gym while others were sleeping off hangovers. Why? Because in Floyd's mind, the element of surprise wasn't just for his opponents, it was for himself. Training at odd hours kept his body and mind sharp. His philosophy was simple. While others rested, he worked. And in a sport where one punch can change everything, he wanted every possible advantage. Inside the gym, Floyd was relentless. He'd spar 20 rounds, jump straight into mitt work, then grind on the heavy bag for another hour. He trained cardio like a marathon runner and hand speed like a pianist on steroids. Witnesses often described his sessions as performances of sheer willpower. The phrase, TBE, the best ever, wasn't just marketing. It was the standard he demanded from himself daily. One famous story highlights this mentality. During preparations for the Manny Pacquiao fight, reporters asked if he was nervous. Floyd laughed and said, "I don't worry about fights when I've outworked everyone in training." For him, fights were easy compared to the grind of camp. In many ways, Floyd's work ethic mirrored other American sports icons. Think of Kobe Bryant's 4 a.m. gym sessions, Tom Brady's obsessive film study, or Jerry Rice's brutal hill sprints. These athletes weren't satisfied with talent. They chased perfection through repetition. Floyd belonged in that club. But it wasn't just physical training. Floyd obsessed over film study. He'd watch hours of his opponents' fights, dissecting their habits, their weaknesses, their patterns. By the time fight night arrived, he already had a roadmap in his head. While opponents swung blindly, Floyd was executing a plan he'd rehearsed 1,000 times. His diet and lifestyle also played a role. Unlike many fighters, Floyd never ballooned in weight between matches. He lived clean, rarely drank alcohol, and always stayed near fighting shape. That discipline allowed him to take fights on shorter notice and remain consistent across 2 decades. The hard work, dedication chant became iconic in his gym. Every time he trained, his team echoed those words. It was motivation, ritual, and identity. Fans who visited the Mayweather Boxing Club in Las Vegas often described the atmosphere as electric, the walls dripping with sweat, the sound of gloves smacking bags, and Floyd shouting his mantra like a battle cry. And here's the irony. For all his wealth and fame, Floyd's true addiction wasn't money. It was the grind. Even after retirement, videos surfaced of him running at 3 a.m. or sparring with young prospects. He didn't need to prove anything anymore, yet he couldn't stop. Because for Floyd, training wasn't preparation. It was who he was. In American culture, where success is often tied to hustle, Floyd embodied the idea that obsession beats talent when talent doesn't obsess. His life was proof that no matter how gifted you are, relentless work is what keeps you undefeated. Year 4. The Mayweather-Pacquiao rivalry. The fight that defined an era. Few events in sports history carried the same weight, drama, and anticipation as Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao. It wasn't just a boxing match. It was a cultural moment, a global spectacle that defined an entire era of the sport. For years, fans begged for it. From the late 2000s into the 2010s, debates raged across barbershops, gyms, sports radio shows, and living rooms. Who would win if Mayweather fought Pacquiao? Manny, with his southpaw style, blistering speed, and 8 division titles, was the people's champion. Floyd, with his flawless defense and undefeated record, was the villain everyone wanted to see tested. It was America's version of Ali versus Frazier, a clash of contrasting personalities, styles, and fan bases. But here's the twist. The fight didn't happen in their primes. Negotiations stalled for years over drug testing, purse splits, and promotional conflicts. Every time it seemed close, it fell apart. The delays only fueled the fire, making the eventual showdown in May 2015 feel like a once-in-a-lifetime event. When the fight was finally announced, the hype was beyond belief. Hotels in Las Vegas sold out instantly. Ticket prices soared to astronomical levels, with nosebleed seats going for thousands. Pay-per-view companies braced for record-breaking numbers. Even people who didn't watch boxing knew Mayweather vs. Pacquiao was something they couldn't miss. Fight night arrived and the world stopped to watch. Over 4.6 million households in the U.S. alone bought the pay-per-view, smashing records. The fight generated over $600 million in revenue, becoming the richest single sporting event in history. To put that in perspective, that's more money in one night than entire seasons of some professional sports leagues. Inside the ring, the story played out as many analysts predicted. Manny Pacquiao had moments of aggression, landing flurries and trying to break through. But Floyd's defense was airtight. He controlled the pace, used his jab like a surgeon's scalpel, and countered with precision. Round after round, Pacquiao grew frustrated as Mayweather neutralized his attacks. When the final bell rang, the judges awarded Floyd a unanimous decision. He had done it again, controlled, calculated, and victorious. But the victory came with mixed reviews. Hardcore boxing fans praised Floyd's technical brilliance. Casual viewers, hoping for a slugfest, felt disappointed. Yet, regardless of opinions, the fact remained. Mayweather versus Pacquiao was the defining fight of a generation. For Floyd, it was validation. For years, critics accused him of ducking Pacquiao. With this win, he silenced them, cementing his claim as the best pound-for-pound fighter of his era. For Manny, it was a reminder that heart and courage sometimes aren't enough against surgical precision. In the broader American context, the fight represented more than boxing. It was a lesson in marketing, patience, and the value of anticipation. Just like a blockbuster film teased for years, the wait only made the payoff bigger. Floyd understood that. By delaying the fight until the hype reached its boiling point, he ensured the payday would be historic. And while fans debated whether the fight was worth the wait, there's no denying it became part of pop culture history. Late-night talk shows joked about it, rappers name-dropped it, and sports bars packed to capacity replayed it for weeks. Floyd Mayweather didn't just win a fight. He won the moment. Number 3. The business of Money Mayweather. How he mastered self-promotion and branding. If Mayweather versus Pacquiao was the fight that defined his career, then Mayweather's ability to market himself was what defined his empire. Long before social media influencers monetized attention, Floyd was already doing it. He turned himself into a walking brand, and he did it in a way that was both genius and polarizing. The transformation began when he rebranded from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather. Early in his career, his clean-cut image highlighted his skill. But as he grew older, Floyd realized skill alone wasn't enough. To maximize earnings, he needed to be larger than life. Enter the brash, unapologetic persona of Money, a man who flaunted stacks of cash, wore diamond-encrusted watches, and never missed a chance to remind the world of his wealth. In American sports, where showmanship often rivals performance, this was a brilliant move. Just like Muhammad Ali used trash talk to sell fights, Floyd used arrogance to guarantee headlines. Every time he waved a bag of money on camera, every time he posted a video counting stacks of $100 bills, the public reacted. Some wanted to see him win. Most wanted to see him lose. But all of them tuned in. Mayweather's mastery of self-promotion extended beyond just bragging. He understood the mechanics of media. He gave reporters quotes that stirred controversy. He played the villain role perfectly, knowing fans love a good storyline. His press conferences became spectacles of their own, full of taunts, theatrics, and mind games. Against Ricky Hatton, he mocked British fans with their own chants. Against Conor McGregor, he turned the promotional tour into a global comedy act. And then there was his genius with timing. Floyd carefully selected when to fight, ensuring maximum anticipation. He fought on Cinco de Mayo weekends in Las Vegas, drawing huge Mexican-American fan bases who tuned in to cheer for his opponents. He knew how to make his fights feel like cultural events, not just sporting contests. Social media amplified his empire. On Instagram, he showcased his private jets, luxury cars, and extravagant lifestyle. In doing so, he blurred the line between athlete and celebrity influencer before that term even existed. He wasn't just selling fights, he was selling a lifestyle brand. Fans either dreamed of living like him or prayed to see him humbled. Either way, they bought the pay-per-view. Floyd also leaned into the business side in unprecedented ways. By creating Mayweather Promotions, he cut out middlemen and took a promoter's share of revenues. Unlike most fighters who get a percentage of the purse while promoters take the lion's cut, Floyd owned the whole pie. That's why fights like Mayweather versus Pacquiao and Mayweather versus McGregor generated him hundreds of millions personally. In many ways, Floyd Mayweather was a pioneer of athlete empowerment. Long before LeBron James launched Spring Hill Entertainment, or athletes signed massive equity deals with companies, Floyd showed how controlling your own brand could make you richer than any endorsement deal. Of course, his approach wasn't universally loved. Some fans saw him as materialistic, greedy, even vulgar. But that was the point. Floyd didn't want everyone to love him. He wanted everyone to pay attention. And in the American entertainment landscape, attention equals money. By the time he retired, Money Mayweather wasn't just a nickname, it was a business empire. He proved that in the 21st century, an athlete could be more than just a competitor. They could be a brand, a product, and a billion-dollar corporation all rolled into one. Deirdre 2. The Legacy Debate. Is Floyd the greatest of all time? GOAT? In sports, numbers don't lie, but they also don't tell the whole story. Floyd Mayweather Jr. ES record of 50 wins and 0 losses is flawless, the kind of stat that makes jaws drop. But does that automatically make him the greatest of all time? That's where the debate begins, and it's a debate that has dominated boxing circles, sports bars, and ESPN panels for years. Supporters argue the case is airtight. Not only did Floyd retire undefeated, but he did it while facing a lineup of elite opponents: Oscar de la Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Canelo Alvarez, and of course Manny Pacquiao. He fought across 5 weight divisions, adapting his style and maintaining dominance. In an era where fighters often avoided risks, Floyd consistently faced champions and came out unscathed. Then there's his technical brilliance. His defensive skills, ring IQ, and adaptability are considered by many analysts to be the highest ever displayed in the sport. Commentators often compared him to a chess grandmaster, always 2 steps ahead. If boxing is the sweet science, then Floyd was the Einstein of the sport. But critics push back hard. They argue Floyd was too cautious, cherry-picking opponents at the right times. They point out that by the time he fought Manny Pacquiao, Pacquiao was past his prime. They also argue that Floyd's style, while effective, wasn't entertaining. Fans wanted knockouts, drama, blood. Instead, Floyd delivered calculated decisions. To some, that makes him the smartest. To others, it makes him the safest. Compare him to legends like Muhammad Ali. Ali didn't just win. He inspired movements, fought wars outside the ring, and became a cultural hero. Sugar Ray Leonard brought flair and charisma. Mike Tyson brought fear. Floyd, in contrast, brought business acumen and a spotless record. Is that enough to crown him the GOAT? In American sports culture, greatness isn't just measured in wins, it's measured in impact. Ali influenced civil rights. Michael Jordan changed basketball forever. Tom Brady redefined what's possible in football longevity. Floyd's impact was more financial and technical. He showed fighters they could control their careers, own their brands, and retire healthy and wealthy. In that sense, his legacy may not be about being the most beloved, but the most influential in shaping the modern business of boxing. The GOAT debate will never truly end, and maybe that's the point. Floyd doesn't need everyone to agree. For him, the fact that the conversation exists, that his name is always in the mix with Ali, Robinson, and Leonard, is victory enough. Number 1. Life after boxing. From undefeated champion to cultural icon. When most athletes retire, the spotlight fades. Not for Floyd Mayweather Jr. Even after hanging up the gloves in 2017, he found ways to stay relevant, profitable, and, most importantly, unforgettable. One of the ways he did this was through exhibition fights. While his official record remains 50-0, Floyd has stepped back into the ring for lucrative events against non-traditional opponents. He fought Japanese kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa in 2018, finishing him in the first round and reportedly earning $9 million for less than 3 minutes of work. Then came Logan Paul, a YouTuber with a massive following. Critics laughed, but the fight generated millions of pay-per-view buys. Once again, Floyd proved he could turn even a spectacle into a payday. Outside the ring, Floyd has embraced his role as a cultural icon. His lifestyle posts still go viral. Private jets, custom Bugattis, closets lined with sneakers worth more than most people's houses. But beyond the flexing, he's also invested heavily. He owns real estate properties, runs Mayweather Promotions, and has his hands in ventures ranging from gyms to entertainment. More importantly, Floyd's influence reaches younger generations of fighters. Today's boxers, from Gervonta Davis to Ryan Garcia, cite Mayweather as proof that athletes can be both performers and businessmen. He opened the door for fighters to demand bigger purses, more control, and respect as entrepreneurs. Culturally, Floyd remains polarizing. To some, he's still the arrogant, money-obsessed fighter who flaunted wealth in a struggling economy. To others, he's the ultimate example of self-made success, a kid from Grand Rapids who became one of the richest athletes alive. Either way, people are still talking about him. And in Floyd's world, that's all that matters. His legacy isn't just about boxing anymore. It's about redefining what it means to be an athlete in the modern era. Not just a competitor, but a brand, an empire, a cultural figure who transcends the sport itself. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is more than a fighter. He's a paradox. A man whose fists brought him fame, whose defense made him untouchable, whose controversies made him infamous, and whose business moves made him a billionaire. Whether you see him as the GOAT or just a master of self-promotion, there's no denying his impact. He changed boxing. He changed the business of sports. And he ensured that when people talk about the greatest athletes of all time, his name will always be in the conversation. So, what do you think? Is Floyd Mayweather Jr. truly the best to ever do it, or just the smartest businessman in boxing? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss more thrilling deep dives into the legends, icons, and mysteries of the sports world. Turn on the notification bell so you're the first to catch our latest uploads. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next countdown.